Good afternoon. This is Richard Davis, Director for Alternative Dispute Resolution at the Department of Labor and Industry. Thank you for being a part of today's Answer Hour session. As I mentioned at our last meeting, these are now going to be monthly answer hours, a half hour in length. So we want to go ahead and get started here and maximize the time that we have allotted. If at any time you have questions, comments, thoughts, I would ask that you load those into the chat in between myself, Aaron Fredrickson, or Brian Mack. Other folks from the ADR team, we can monitor that and either answer your questions in real time or take it as a takeaway and follow up in the wake of the Answer Hour session. We appreciate you being a part of this, and we always appreciate your content and feedback that you're able to provide to us. So let's get started here. Briefly, I'll just give an overview of some updates, reminders, things that you may have already heard, but just want to hit on again. Talk a little bit about the things that went out for the April release, which was heavily indexed to the legal community, and then briefly allow Brian and Aaron to do a demo Q&A session on some topics that we think are of interest to system users. So quickly here, I just want to remind everyone about a couple of the recent Gov delivery messages that have gone out from the department around issues related to data security and overall system integrity. These are things that are certainly paramount to our decision making on a day-to-day basis. There was a Gov delivery sent late last month on the 22nd, and then another one about a week ago on the 13th, relating to a couple of different issues and impacting the system. One was the revocation of access to closed cases and claims. And then last week, we sent out a note from the Commissioner Robertson, articulating the department's stance on including private data in campus system-generated emails. If you're looking for those, you can find that information on our website. But I would just remind people that the decision-making process is certainly an involved one. It takes a lot of varying viewpoints and considerations into account. And at the end of the day, where we landed in each of these instances is on putting the overall data integrity, overall system integrity, and data security at the forefront of our decision-making process. So we're continuing to monitor the system to ensure that it is secure. There have been a number of incidents brought to our attention with law firms and other stakeholders that have been subjected to cybersecurity threats, phishing attempts, hacks, what have you, over the course of the past several weeks. So that's why this is something that is top of mind for everyone at this point. But we'll continue to monitor our policies on this, and if and when we believe it's appropriate to change, we will continue to articulate our thinking in this space. In a similar vein, we talk about policies that are constantly under review. One of the things that's very much under review at this point in time, not just here at DLI, but really across the nation, are our discussions around reopening the facility to staff. This is something that's also being done in connection with renovations that are taking place here at 443 Lafayette. So just want to make sure that people are aware that renovations to our first floor conference rooms and general shared space are ongoing. Those renovations are scheduled to be complete at the end of June. During this time, no mediations or conferences are being scheduled here, and none will be scheduled until further notice. We want to ensure that the renovations are done, that everything is set up the way that we want it to be before we get into rescheduling things back here in person at 443, and that's going to take a little while. That planning process is also being looked at in conjunction with our reopening plan or return to work plan, and that's something that's being led by our senior leadership, Commissioner Robertson, Deputy Commissioner Nicole Blissenbach, and our HR leaders are reviewing that, and that's in flux right now. So I would just ask people to be patient. If and when we have updates, you can rest assured that we will provide that to our stakeholders. One thing that we have articulated is that for mediations, because there was some requests, there were some requests, excuse me, that were being brought to my attention and the attention of our mediators. We have allowed mediations to be held in person, off-site, when there's agreement by all parties. If there are any questions or thoughts around that, or if you're looking for additional clarification, you can reach out to the mediator directly, or you can contact me. But that's something that we have begun allowing our staff to do based on feedback and a bit of a groundswell that was being heard across the legal space. So if anyone wants some additional clarification, or if you have any thoughts around mediations being conducted in person, you should contact your mediator who's assigned, or you can contact me with additional thoughts or questions around that. Then last but not least, just a reminder to folks that we're continuing to send out our newsletters. We have one that's slated to go out at the end of the month. And then, as I said at the outset today, our answer hours will be monthly now. So just a reminder that we'll have one scheduled in June. We'll find a date shortly and send out an update as we continue to do, so people can mark it on their calendars and participate in these answer hour sessions. And then real quick here, before I turn it over to Aaron, just want to go through briefly some of the items that were covered in our last big release that went out at the end of April. A number of things here. I'm not going to tick this off one by one, but a number of things that were covered in the April release were done with our attorney legal stakeholders in mind. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight here. You can see we talk about the data cleanup, where there's a removal of old attorneys from cases or claims. That's both done to ensure the security and that the right people have access to this information in campus. There's also some things that were done here with additional data cleanup to add attorneys to disputes when appropriate. The goal whenever we do data cleanup, as mentioned before, is to ensure that the overall security of the system is at the forefront. But we also think that these steps that are being taken will allow for a better system experience, a better user experience, so that the system runs a bit more effortlessly. Say that 3 times fast, and speed up the overall usage of the system and the transfer of information. So we're excited about some of the things that are taking place here. We continue day to day, week to week, month to month to look for ways to refine and improve the system. So if you have thoughts, comments about what can be done, or if there are things that are getting in the way, what we call blockers, if there are any blockers that you're aware of that are getting in the way of maximizing the system, please let us know. The last thing that I'll share here is just a reminder to folks that there are a number of different ways to interact with us. You can see here, we mentioned, that there's various engagement opportunities, and our commitment to continue to communicate, provide support, training, and listen when it's appropriate to get that feedback, so that we can use your insights, your comments, your thoughts to get us to system stabilization and make sure that this is the best possible version of campus for everyone. So with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron. And Aaron, I think you had a couple of things in particular that you wanted to highlight today and cover as topics for the folks who were on the call. So I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Alrighty, well, thank you very much, Richard. Just a couple comments here. We're continuing to work hard to respond to all help desk tickets in a prompt and timely manner. At least in terms of my role, I monitor the incoming tickets and get them distributed a couple times a day. And at least as far as I know, everyone on the team is working really hard to get tickets responded to in a timely manner. So hopefully that's working out for everyone. Couple bullet points here regarding interventions. We continue to see a lot of problems related to interventions, and we're encouraging parties to update their notice of potential intervention forms and those form motions to intervene that people send out. Under the legacy system, the Department of Labor and Industry would accept any intervention motion that was submitted. However, under the campus system, we're no longer accepting motions to intervene when the case is no longer at the Department of Labor and Industry. So if the case that you're sending out an intervention notice on is at the Office of Administrative Hearings, please be sure to update your forms and indicate that. If possible, highlight that information so that the healthcare provider that's intervening is doing it at the correct court. I think part of the problem is there's obviously a few interveners out there that are very experienced. For example, Alina has a law firm that handles their interventions, and so they understand the workers' compensation system. I know from at least my experience when I'm talking to your average run-of-the-mill medical intervener, such as like a chiropractic office where it's probably the receptionist is handling a lot of that paperwork. I start talking Office of Administrative Hearings and Department of Labor and Industry, and they're completely confused. And quite frankly, I don't blame them because they're handling multiple things. So please, 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 please update your forms and be sure to highlight that. So if something's at OH, make sure that that person knows that they need to intervene at the Office of Administrative Hearings. And that's just causing a lot of tickets and problems. And I think if we all work together, we can get those tickets resolved. Two other things, and Brian Mack wanted me to bring these to everyone's attention. When you are filing a request for assistance or request for certification, continue to complete the web form correctly. There is a disputed issues tab where you add your disputed issue. Make sure that you complete that. When you don't complete the disputed issues tab on step number 5 of the request for assistance or request for certification, it prevents the other party from filing a response. It's important too, if you do a request for certification and a dispute is certified, that when you file your request for assistance, that you file it under that same dispute number. Remember, the dispute number starts with a DS. I've gone to on my certification letters, I'll highlight that and put it in bold. But we just want to make sure that people are paying attention. And then finally, when you're filing a response, make sure that you're filing it under the dispute. And again, we're seeing problems where people are not they're not filing the response under the dispute. They're trying to do it on some other tab. What happens is they get frustrated and then they revert to using the paper form. Remember that per the statute, that's an improper filing and the department doesn't accept those. I've recommended too that people just kind of ditch the paper form. Old habits are sometimes hard to get rid of. I know too, any of my coworkers can attest to the fact that change is sometimes difficult for me to accept. But don't use the paper forms. They cause confusion. Make sure that when you're filing your response, you are going into the dispute. And then you're using the submit filing button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and then choosing your dispute action and answering all of the questions. I think the great thing is that it's going to save time for your law firm and for your assistants as far as work that they have to do. So those were the 3 points that I wanted to call out as far as this answer hour session. If you have any questions, I'm free to answer those. Brian, I believe that you're on. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to add with what I said.
Now,
So,
Eric, this is Brian. A couple of questions in the chat that came up, though, I saw.
right.
Oh, there, I pulled it up. So let's see. We received multiple notifications from campus on a single filing. Is there an explanation for that? My first answer is one, it depends. And the reason why I say that is there could be an explanation as far as people within your firm or entity have the same permission levels, and that's why it would be generated. I would say if you have a specific instance, if you could call that out and provide documentation, it would be a lot easier to troubleshoot than going ahead and or we could get it solved that way. So Kimberly, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. It says, next question from Meg, the Department of Labor and Industry QRC listing that was in Excel is no longer available. I understand this is because it was part of the legacy system. Can you confirm if that listing will become available again? If so, approximately when is the anticipated? In terms of that question, I would need to defer to VRU. I'm not sure if it's VRU, the Vocational Rehab Unit, or CRT, Compliance Records and Training, if they maintain that list. Richard, I don't know if you have any insight on that.
Aaron, this is Darcy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you barely.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
It's CRT actually handles it. Joanne Jacobson is the rehab registration specialist, and she monitors all those. But if you're in campus and you go to your advanced search and under entities, you click QRC and you can click search and it brings up all the registered QRCs.
Okay.
And you can click on the registration, and I mean, it's all QRCs that are have been registered with the state, and you'd have to click the registration button filter to filter it out whether or not they're active or not. But otherwise, Joanne Jacobson would be able to answer any of your questions regarding QRCs.
Thank you very much for the insight.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Darcy. So Aaron, there's a suggestion in here from Victoria about making sure that the items that you covered are included in our next update. And I'll take that one as a to-do. Victoria, we work in concert, but I typically take point on updating the newsletter. So we'll work together to make sure that the information that was shared here today is documented in our next newsletter. Okay. And then there's a new question for you here, Aaron. Do you see this one from Tina?
Aaron, when we are unable to file a response to the RFA because the RFA wasn't filed properly, I found the specialist mediator recognized the issue and our staff is emailing them to flip the button, so to speak. I hope they are okay with that. I've had a couple of specialists request plaintiff attorneys refile the RFAs properly. Tina, to your point, yes, definitely feel free to reach out either to the help desk or if you know it's been assigned to mediator arbitrator. Everyone on the ADR team has been trained as far as this issue. I think one of the important things when reaching out is provide the dispute number. It starts with a DS. I think too, just in terms of, change and talking about getting rid of the paper forms, is we need to learn to talk a new language. In the past, we would only report things via a WID, and we can still look things up via a WID. But under the old system, a lot of times it would take a while to figure out what the pleading is. The nice thing about having a dispute number is if, Tina, for example, you would send me email saying, hey, on dispute number, and then DS and fill it in. My attorney is unable to respond. Can you please take a look at this? I can go in, I can pop it up. I'll go to my issues tab. I'll note that the issue wasn't added correctly. and I can go ahead and make the update and respond to you right away, letting you know that that change has been made. So the DS or dispute number is helpful. Question: the response time from the help desk hasn't been too quick for the request. For example, one of our staff has a conference tomorrow and was unable to respond. We are waiting for a response right now. Tina, why don't you send me a dispute number? I think, again, if it's a conference that's set for tomorrow, there should be noted that there's a who's assigned to that conference, and being in contact with them directly is a lot quicker. I think too, and I'm just going to pull it up, the ADR contact information link on our website, I think is often not utilized and is very helpful as far as not knowing someone's phone number, not knowing someone's email address. And I just dropped it in the chat box right now. It's a great resource as far as getting a hold of someone immediately. Tina, does that answer your question? All right, glad I could help, Tina. And definitely feel free to, Tina, to pass this link around to all of your support staff. Again, it's a great resource. I honestly, I used this site early on when we made the quick transition to work from home if I was trying to get a hold of someone via phone on my own team. So.
No, that's good stuff, Aaron. Thanks for that. Just trying to see if we've got any more. Tina just followed up, said she'll share that with her staff. So thanks again. Any other thoughts or questions we want to discuss while we got everyone here? I see that there are a couple of follow-ups, and we'll certainly take those offline, and we'll pass along the feedback regarding the help desk. I will say this about the help desk. The help desk handles a wide range of things during the course of a day. And our ticket numbers have gone down drastically since the help desk was launched last year. They've gotten a lot better about addressing some of the things that come in. So if there are instances where maybe they're slow in getting back to you, I would just say, continue to please be patient, but also recognize that our help desk handles a lot of stuff. Perennial favorite. Any updates on the progress of any and all DLI authorizations? Short answer is nothing to add currently. We do have a process, and we can just make sure people are aware of it. Again, we do have a process currently in place to allow for any and all. So Wendy, I'm not sure if you're using what's currently available. If that's not working for you, we can certainly have that discussion offline. But I'll follow up with you just to make sure that you and your staff have access and are aware of what's currently in place, and you're taking advantage of that. And if that particular process is not working, then we can have a discussion to figure out what can be done to address the needs that you might have. Aaron, I'm typing something real quick. Can you take this question here that just came in from Victoria?
I would always
Do you
love
see that?
to respond to Vicky.
Hoorah.
She's a Marine, so you got to be careful when you're dealing with Vicky. Jarhead, I love that movie. In response to a request for assistance to a file, a notice of appearance, notice of representation in campus. Semper Fi, yes. Where was I? lost my train of thought. We were informed that we can't file a notice of appearance because the insurer is not filing via EDI, the first report of injury. Law change took effect 11/1/2020. The insurers, are now required to file in so many days. Richard or someone else, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the statute is 14 days. They need to file the first report of injury. And what I would do is, Vicki, I would tell your client that they're required to file that. And that by filing it, it not only complies with the Workers' Compensation Act, but it makes things a lot more easier for wonderful legal support staff like you. And Vicki, do you have your challenge coin on you? So let's see, filing QRs. Well, there's lots of stuff popping up now. I'm buying. Finding QRCs in campus, go to advanced search, select QRC under entities, click search, and it will bring up a list of all QRCs that are signed and registered within Minnesota. Thank you. Some of our clients are still having issues filing the FROIs on EDI. Who can we direct them when issues are still happening? You can file a ticket with the help desk, and that will be directed to CRT, and hopefully they're getting that done. Insurance forms, NOIDs, notice of benefit payments, etc., do not seem as detailed as the old forms and seem to be missing important information. Has this been an issue that is being worked on? My answer is I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has.
Aaron, I'll just mention here, that was something that came up recently in a presentation that the commissioner gave us some feedback. And we did share that that is an opportunity for us to improve the current form. So it's been elevated to the development team now with all the other various things that they have going on currently. Where it falls in the queue, I can't really say at this point in time, but we are aware that that is an opportunity to improve the current forms relative to the prior iteration of the forms that was available. So the comment that Sharon makes there is appropriate and timely, and it dovetails with something that we've heard previously. So thank you for that. Oh, and Francis provided, thank you, Francis, an email there. Yeah, about questions related to EDI and EFROI, that DLI.EDI email address. Thanks, Francis. Well, we're at time now. It's 12:30. And this has been really good. Thanks, everyone. This has been a nice, lively discussion and a exchange of information today. So appreciate that. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Brian, for providing some questions. And also thank you, Darcy, for weighing in as well. We have these items listed in the chat here. I know that there was in particular an ask that some of the things that, Aaron, you covered be included in our next newsletter. So we can certainly do that. And we can also just go through and curate the back and forth today to see if there are items that we can highlight either in FAQs or as follow-ups based on what's been discussed. But this is a good lively discussion, and we certainly appreciate everyone making time out of their day to share these things with us. Aaron, Brian, I'll just ask before we close, any parting comments, last minute thoughts before we adjourn?
My only question is, with the remodel at Labor and Industry, is there going to be a piano bar that's going to be added in the lobby? I think that'd be a big draw in bringing people back, and it looks like I owe everyone drinks. So
Yeah, something tells me that our friends at the legislature would not approve of that. But we do look forward to seeing people back in the building here in the not too distant future, piano bar notwithstanding. So, Brian, anything from you?
Thanks, Richard, but no, not from me.
Okay, very good. Well, we again appreciate everyone making time out of their day to join us, and thank you for the questions, comments, thoughts. Stay tuned here for feedback and updates in our newsletter. And at any time, if you have anything that you want to share, you can reach out to me directly. Certainly, reach out to Brian. Forward comments through via the help desk team as well. But thank you, everyone, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Take care. Have a good day.